OMG, have you all seen the articles that came out this week about plastic in people's brains? I'm Val, and my channel is kind of about my life in a rural area, but I'm also talking a little bit about some of the issues that are concerning and things that might be you might be kind of contemplating internally and saying, if I could, I would scenarios. For example, I used to say, if I could, I would have a garden. And there were a lot of obstacles that were keeping me from that. But some of my concerns about the food system and plastic recycling in general have been weighing on my brain. And I saw that article, and then at the same time, over this past weekend, I actually was exploring the food box delivery service. A friend of mine has been using a variety of different brands that are offered, and she gave me one of the coupons that they offer to entice new customers. So I received that box, and when I opened up the packaging, I was reminded of why I don't enjoy these types of services. So, for example, this is a carrot. I'm not going to name the company because I had a conversation with her about this, and she said, basically all of them have crappy packaging. But this is one carrot in literally a giant bag. And it is extremely difficult for us to get away from this type of packaging, um, even in grocery stores, right? So there are some things that I have started to do in my purchasing habits, such as no longer purchasing products like laundry detergent in plastic bottles. That is not recyclable. It is actually considered trash and it is contaminated. Um, Laundry detergent now is available in paper cartons. In addition, there are suppliers out there that do that for hand soap, dish soap, those types of things. But today I really wanted to talk about this issue. So the recipe that they sent me, they actually sent me two carrots individually wrapped, one at a time. And this is just really mind blowing to me because how many people, how many thousands of stocked carrots are they sending out that are packaged like this? It's not even like a tiny package, like this is really very ridiculous. There are some grocery stores that I have stopped shopping at because their produce was wrapped in plastic. So it's hard to get away from that, but I'm not sure if you're aware that most plastics are actually not recyclable, even if you tear this up and put it in your recycling. It's going to go directly to the landfill. So let me first look at the articles that I found to kind of talk about this. And I used to be a professor of graphic design, and I still teach graphic design. So my kind of way of being is like looking at articles. So I think that sometimes people like that has been a conversation lately about like do your own research or whatever, or like media isn't necessarily reliable. So this study, I got my box on Friday. I pulled out and made one of the recipes, and this is when I discovered. Now, granted, this tasted really good. It's really fresh, but the other aspect of this is like the amount of processing that this has gone through. So it's been washed because there's no dirt on it. The way that a carrot is grown, there's a lot of grass, right? So that's gone. And it actually is at a place where you don't even have to like peel the extra. I mean, it's like, I don't know how how they do the wash. Then I think about like all the people that are working in a place like this and like Are they getting a livable wage? Like, even though this particular box is organic, like, wouldn't I rather try alternative sources? So that's what I'm going to talk about in a minute. But let's look at these articles. So the study finds high levels of microplastics in human brains are increasing over time. This was February 4th. This is just like the other day. And I noticed this article, and when I'm reading this article, it talks about how this is actually increased. So the importance of science and investing in science research, like with the National Institute of Health, is this type of thing. Otherwise, the companies, including the oil companies that enable the ability to create this type of plastic, can continue to do whatever they want. So microplastics have been found in human brains, have increased 50% in just 8 years, and that people with dementia have had up to 10 times more plastic in their brains. How in the world are we getting plastic in our brains? Like, I don't understand how that's happening. However, they are studying these and they're finding these microplastics that are found in the environment in our air, water, and soil. So if you're buying products that are not necessarily organic, you don't know if there's chemicals or other types of plastics or degraded items in the soil that they're using, right? So the article here talks about the study also is in other things in our bodies like liver, kidneys, and the brain, and the substantially higher concentrations between 2016 and 2024. This is extremely disturbing. If you ever have an opportunity to travel beyond your kind of regular bubble, you may notice an increase in lots of trash. You can find plastic trash in a river. You can find plastic trash on the side of the road. You can find plastic trash in beaches. It's everywhere, right? And it's not recyclable. Here is an article. So if you want to go more directly to medical resources, Nature Medicine talks about the rise of global concentrations of microplastics and nanoplastics. This can even come from the makeup that you purchase. So everything is going to have some aspect of plastic in it, and it doesn't degrade. And I've been to a few other countries and I compare them. So in some countries that I've traveled to, and I see a voluminous amount of trash and pollution compared to other countries that have developed a more robust recycling program. And for example, in Japan, where I was traveling this past summer last year, their plastic is actually labeled that it is based, it's a plant-based plastic, it's biodegradable, and then they also have a robust recycling program because they are a very small country. Okay, so what can we do living in America or in other places? Like, I'm just one person, so my like boycotting and not using these types of services is not having an impact at all whatsoever on that type of company, right? Um, so anyway, the increasing MNP concentrations over time in both liver and brain samples um, documented dementia diagnosis with notable deposition in our immune cells. Okay, another article: microplastics are inside us all. What does that mean for our health? This is from the American Association of Medical. Um, Tiny plastic particles have been found throughout the human body, but they're just starting to understand the impact. This is from last summer, and it's a neuroscientist studying drinking water of mice with tiny fragments of plastic. So bottled water, if you're going to the grocery store and you see the voluminous amount of bottled water, bottled sodas, all plastics. And Coca-Cola, for example, is the largest producer of bottled water. They have 600 at least brands worldwide. So there are ways in which we are just, bought into this whole kind of ecosystem without necessarily think about the longer term consequences, not only to our own bodies, but to the environment. Okay, so this article talks a little bit more about what microplastics are. So I now reside in a place where I have short-term company, and recycling is different in a variety of places. So I noticed that when I've asked people to kind of separate their trash or they automatically are recycling, they're going to put every single thing like this into a recycle. This is not recyclable. This is a item of trash, and this article talks about why most plastics are not recycled. If you are not aware of this, this might be the time to start to change your habits. Plastic can even be in clothing. Many of us consider plastic recycling, but only less than 10% globally is being recycled. And most types of plastic, it's only those like number one bottles. They're very thin and are being are able to be recycled. Now, there's some innovative programs worldwide. Young people are coming up with ideas of how to recycle plastic, and like to use the term upcycled like this. But in any case, what I'm really wanting to talk about is, oh wait, we simply throw plastics away into the recycle bin. Yep. But not all plastics can be recycled. 25% of plastics are thermoset plastics that do not soften when they're exposed to heat, making them near impossible to recycle. These include electric insulation, ropes, belts, pipes, all sorts of things, right? We have become a plastic society. Now, one other thing, microplastics and nanoplastics in food. Some evidence suggests that microplastics are entering the food supply primarily for the environment. Um, Plastics are used in a wide array of consumer and industrial products, including toys, household appliances, cosmetics. Limited amount of plastics are recycled or incinerated, leaving most plastic waste to accumulate in landfills. This also means that it goes into the water system. So I live in a small county, and the landfill is quote unquote landlocked. They're running out of space. So um, the household waste is put into large container trucks, and they truck that off. So we have to pay a certain amount to the landfill, to the county, for that process. And then the landfill is only now allowed to have like products like construction material, um, and larger like household goods like furniture, or old drywall or whatever it might be, that's not put into a plastic bag. So I remember a few years ago that they were having a conversation with the county commission on this challenge, that the landfill was getting, starting to get piled up into a fake mountain. And a construction guy was offering to buy land nearby to expand the landfill so that he could get his trucks to not drive as far to drop off all of the construction debris. And time went by and I didn't know what had transpired with that, but I ended up getting a bill that was like triple the amount. So the reason why they've increased the price for our local landfill is because that deal fell through. Why did that deal fall through? Is because when they did an environmental impact study, they realized that the landfill runoff water, if they had expanded into that land, would have been too close to the watershed of the local river, which is a fantastic reason not to expand a landfill. So we have to be thinking about how the types of lifestyle and the products that we are able to buy at a click of a button and be delivered to us for our food, like this, even though it's organic, think of the amount of waste that is happening. How are they producing this? What are the people getting paid in the factories to do this? Now, what's really interesting is they're also packaging like the seasonings. Okay. So these one-off things, we might be going to a restaurant and a fast food restaurant, and we can get small individual packaging. This is not recyclable, as opposed to buying my own bottle of glass, which is recyclable, metal is recyclable, of this for about $5, right? So the other thing about seasonings is if you're not buying organic seasonings, you may not necessarily be getting actual product. So that's a whole nother conversation about spices and how spices are manufactured, and where they're being manufactured from and what might be contaminating them, including olive oil. Olive oil does not have, most olive oils is not 100% pure olive oil. So instead of this, which I know is convenient because if you're leading a busy life, you're like, oh, I'm just going to get these box meals, right? So if you're going to be cooking already and you want the recipes, there's ways to look at these recipes. So this level of convenience is destroying our lives in some capacity. So you might not want to go this route where you're going to be buying seeds and actually growing your own products. There are farmers markets. There are the grocery stores that you can buy a package, buy a bundle of carrots or buy 1 or 2 carrots at a time, or even buy the package of carrots that is full, right? So if I buy this and it's full of those little baby carrots, it's at least better than 1 carrot at a time. So I actually was able to grow carrots for the first time in my garden last year, and I'm going to be planting these seeds again. Some of them are a little old, so I'm going to see what happens with them. But this is my encouragement to you to reconsider the habits that we have been trying to create. So one of the things is, if I could, I would. If you have this internal thing of like, I'm working too much, I'm getting burned out. I don't have enough time to go to the grocery store to cook the food, so I'm just going to order from these food box companies. Maybe the internal issue is the working too much. Maybe the internal issue is needing to touch grass, right? Needing to feel the soil in your fingertips, the needing to understand where the water is coming from and the fact that you don't have plastic contaminating your food. So it's something to consider. And following up with this, I will be posting updates on my garden throughout the season. So I would appreciate it if you wanted to subscribe and help me build this awareness of how we have become kind of zombies in this system of mass production of food, mass production of products, mass production of everything, social media, all this stuff, and how we can really, as an individual, kind of start to make our own choices for ourselves and how we want to lead a different life. So my name is Val, and I appreciate you watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.